Good evening. We're here this evening to do an FE review session. This review session is going to be on construction management, estimating issues, and ethics and professionalism. So the easiest and most interactive way to do this is to just work some of the construction problems, and some of those I can't put on the screen. And then we've got a tremendous amount of the ethics, professionalism questions, and a little bit of contracting questions in here as well to go through. And a lot of interaction and discussion is going to be your best thing here. When it comes to construction management, the best thing is to get your construction management book out and familiarize yourself with all the terms, flow, critical path, all those kinds of things from a construction management standpoint. You'll see a lot more terms and definition of terms on the exam than you will just about anything else. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Get a screen up here and get working. Some of these construction management related things, we'll draw a couple of diagrams here. Get ourselves going. So there we go. All right, so we've got an activity node diagram, construction management. There are different nodes in here. All right, so we've got an activity on node diagram here for construction process. The activities are the letters, and then the duration of each of those activities is inside that circle as well. And we've got two questions here associated with the diagram. The first one being, what is most nearly the float time for activity G? Anybody recall what the float means? Definition of float? Floats, how much extra time or spare time is associated with that activity. So the way we would go about determining what the float is we need to go and look at how we can progress through this construction project from the start to the end and see how activity G fits into that scenario. So first thing we want to look at is the different methodologies we can get from start to end and figure out how many days are involved. So if we go through the start, A, E, end scenario, we're going to have 1 day plus 2 days equals a total of 3 days. If we look at the start, A, C, D, F, end scenario, we're going to have 1 plus 7 plus 5 plus 3 for a total of 16 days. If we look at the scenario going, our other alternative we have there is start, A, C, D, G, end. So we're going to divert to the lower category G there before we get to the end. Add those days up. 1 plus 7 plus 5 plus 6 is 19 days. One alternate route will be S, B, D, F, N. We have 4 plus 5 go start, E, D, G, end. 4 plus 5 plus 6 equals 15 days. So what's the critical path in this scenario?
SAE. This is the shortest?
Critical path is the longest. What's the tightest constraint you got? If you had to put all your resources into getting this thing done, where would you have to put them? So your critical path is going to be your longest path, which is going to be your 19 days. It's going to be your 19 days. So if you look at float is how many extra days you would have to complete the task that is not on the critical path. So in this particular case, G is in fact, because G is in this critical path line, G is a critical path activity, therefore there is zero float. There's zero float. All the outlet activities from A, oh, I got a little step in there, I got an error message here, sorry. Eraser's not want to work, there we go. The line missing there, guys, sorry. If we go A, C, D, G, into the end, that's our critical path, and G is on that critical path, so there's zero float for G. So that's a one question diagram. A fair number of these are just going to be problem statements that we're going to read. We don't want to have diagrams that we put to them. If we're looking at procurement and project delivery issues, which one of the following duties would normally not be the responsibility of the estimating department within a general contracting organization? So what of these four would they not normally be doing? Obtaining bid documents, securing subcontractor or material quotations, project cost accounting, or delivering competitive or negotiated proposals. So if you're an estimator, which one of those would you not be doing? Securing the bid documents, securing subcontractors or material quotes, project cost accounting, or delivering competitive and negotiated proposals. Obtaining bid documents, that's definitely what you would be doing. You're getting those documents so you know what you got to bid on, right? You would be securing subcontractor material quotations because that's the only way you can bid jobs. How much is that aggregate going to cost? How much is that truck going to cost? How much is that labor going to cost? So you would be doing that. And you would be delivering a competitive or a negotiated proposal to get the work done. Project cost accounting is done by your accounting department as the work progresses. So you win the work, and as the work goes along, that cost accounting department keeps track of how your billings are going and how your project's progressing, so you know whether you made money or not. And a competitive bidding, when the bids are all opened, the owner will normally award the contract to the lowest available bidder, qualified bidder, responsible bidder, bonded bidder. And this is one of these problems of just going back and going to your construction materials or construction management book and just reading terms and trying to recall what terms are.
Is it qualified?
That's not qualified. It's responsible bidder. Normally the phraseology most people will say that they will award the bid to the lowest responsible bidder. The lowest responsible bidder. The term design build means which of the following? Design firm designs the project and the client builds it. The design firm both designs and builds the project. Client designs the project and the contractor builds it. Contractor designs the project and the subcontractors build it.
What was the third one again?
Client designs the project and the contractor builds it.
That one.
The old classic system is considered design, bid, and build. That's what I grew up on. Engineer designs it, you bid it out, and a contractor bids it. The new thing that is becoming more and more popular is what they refer to as design build. You actually are the designer and the contractor on the same team, one team.
Oh, really?
So a lot of times, and there's advantages there because if I design it as a design engineer, I may not know the capability of the contractor that's going to win the work. But if the contractor's in play and we work as a team, then I can design it for the equipment he has or for the technology he likes or for the methodologies he likes to build in. So there can be some synergies there to make that work. And typically, most people see cost savings because of that. Most owners see cost savings, which everybody's about saving dollars.
So design and build is that's on the contractor. It's their responsibility.
The contractor is the designer and the builder. A lot of times, what that really ends up being is that there's an engineering firm working with the contractor as a team, and making the design build team.
You mentioned that, and I know that from what, my work experience over the summer, I think the new part of Route 35, the connector.
A lot of 35 is done with design build.
So I think the part in Taze Valley.
I believe all pieces of it have been.
That was
There's questions in this particular review book on knowing Excel and how cells work in Excel and knowing how they give you a set of cells with values in them, and they say, I'm going to put 2 in on this cell, what comes out at the end. You just got to go back and practice those and familiarize yourself with all the structures for working in Excel spreadsheets. I don't think they're going to really ask you anything on how to graph or do any kind of thing like that, but they will have you work inside spreadsheets and seeing how things will mathematically be processed. Or if you're copying an equation from one cell to another cell, what would that equation or what would that value be in that new cell based on the equation you copied? So those are really hard to do in a situation like this, scenario like this. Get one of the review books and crank through them and make sure you got that kind of stuff fresh in your head. The other big thing we've got in this section, of course, is professionalism and ethics. And we've got a bunch of problems, a bunch of just scenarios that you have to contemplate what is the right thing for the person to do. We've got some professional practice problems here first. We'll make a little on the legal side of things. What must be proven for damages to be collected from a strict liability tort? Here again, going back, finding your textbook, reviewing these terms, what strict liability means, what does tort mean. So what must be proven for damages to be collected from a strict liability in tort? That willful neglect or willful negligence caused an injury. That willful or unwillful negligence caused an injury. That the manufacturer knew about the product defect before the product was released, or none of the above. And it's really none of the above. In order for a strict tort liability to be proven, it must be shown that the product was defective and caused an injury. Defective and caused an injury. Negligence does not need to be proven, nor must the manufacturer have known that the defect existed before the product was released. Someone had to be injured by the defect. That's what we're looking for. If a contract has a value engineering clause in, and a contractor suggests to the owner that a feature or method be used to reduce the annual maintenance cost of the finished product, what will be the most likely outcome? A contractor will be able to share in a one-time owner's expected savings cost. The contractor will be paid a fixed amount specified by the contract for making the suggestion, but only if the suggestion is accepted. The contract amount will be increased by some amount specified in the contract. The contractor will receive an annuity payment over the time period specified in the contract. So value engineering and value engineering situation, the designer, contractor is coming up with an alternative solution that's better. Produces the same final product, but through a different methodology, through a different design scenario, but produces the final end result. You see that a lot, real common. It encourages people to be creative. Encourages people to be tremendously creative. In this particular scenario, the contractor's going to receive a one-time lump sum savings or bonus for coming up with this alternative. You're not going to go into a long-term contractual relationship over the life of the project. Even the maintenance may be saved over time, but it gives the opportunity for the engineer to get some of his return for what he's come up with for a good idea. If a contract does not include the clause, time is of the essence, which of the following is true? So if it doesn't include this, which of the following is true? It is difficult to recover losses for extra hours billed. Standard industry time guidelines apply. Delay for damages cannot be claimed. Workers need not be paid for downtime in the project. Time is of the essence. You see that in every contract that exists. I don't know if I've ever seen one that doesn't exist. And you have that in there so that if there is a delay, you can get compensated for it. So it would be answer C there. Damages for delay cannot be claimed if time is of the essence is not in the contract. So you want it in there so you can get your reimbursements for damages due to delays. Delays not caused by you, of course, but it's a very, very important part of the contract. Here's a nice contract legality question. Which statement is true regarding legalities and enforceability of a contract? For a contract to be enforceable, it must be in writing. A contract to perform illegal activities will still be enforced by a court. Contract must include a purchase order. Mutual agreement of all parties must be evident. D. Has to be a mutual benefit agreement if you go into any contract. If a contract's lopsided to one side or the other, that can be challenged. Does not have to be in writing. In the old day, a handshake was worth more than anything. No court is going to enforce something on somebody that's an illegal contract. And it does not require a purchase order. A purchase order is a purchasing concept and help keep track of what's purchased. If I go and purchase a harness, I put a PO against it, so when the bill comes in, my company can look at it and see, oh, this has PO number 1023. 1023 was a harness that Jeff bought. And so that went back against a certain project, so it's an accounting term dealing with how you manage your money with the purchase orders. Again, another one, just knowing terms. Which of the following fee structures is a specific sum paid to the engineer for each day spent on a project? And which of the following fee structures is a specific sum paid to the engineer for each day spent on the project? Salary plus, per diem fee, lump sum fee, cost plus fixed fee. Again, going back and looking at what all those different terms mean. Cost plus fixed fee means If I spend $100 on something, I'm going to get reimbursed for that fixed fee, plus, or for that cost, plus I'm going to get a fee on top of that. I'm going to charge them 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever it might be. If we have a lump sum fee, I'm going to give you $100 to do the work. If you can get it done in 10 minutes, great. If it takes you 3 days, tough luck. Single lump sum. You've got salary plus. It's a new term for me. I'm not sure what that term, if it even really exists or it's legal. And for this particular question, which of the following fee structures is specified sum paid to the engineer for each day spent on site per diem fee? And per diem means a daily fee. So if I'm on the job site, every day I'm on the job site, I get $1,000. Every day I bill them, I get $1,000. Regardless of what I did, if I'm on the job, on the site, doing what I need to be doing. These get a little lengthy. Ethics questions. So you need to remember about the ethics rules and canons and stuff like that we studied in the senior seminar class. And think about how you can relate those to each one of these activities. So we've got a bunch of different scenarios here. And we'll talk through each one of them about why each one of these answers may or may not be the right thing. An environmental engineer with 5 years of experience reads a story in a daily paper about a proposal being presented to the city council to construct a new sewage treatment plant near a protected wetland. Based on professional experience and the facts presented in the newspaper, which we all know we never believe anything read in the newspaper, right? The engineer suspects the plant would be extremely harmful to the local ecosystem. Which of the following would be an acceptable course of action? The engineer should contact appropriate agencies to get more data on the project before making a judgment. The engineer should write an article to the paper editorial page urging the council not to pass the project. The engineer should circulate a petition to the community concerning condemning the project and present the petition to the council. And the engineer should do nothing because he doesn't have enough experience in the industry to express a public opinion on the matter. A would be the correct answer. A would be the correct answer. Get more information, because anything you're reading in the paper, one's going to have a bunch of errors in it, a bunch of misquotes, and two, they can't be giving you enough facts to actually make an engineering judgment. It's like calling somebody on the phone saying, I'll do this for you. If you haven't seen the project or know anything about the project, you can't do that. That's illegal.
If you did the petition thing, you can get sued, couldn't you?
Depends on how you do it. If you do it as Joe Citizen, you can do that if you want. You probably would be skirting ethical issues if you did that professing your expertise and that kind of thing. You have to do it as Joe Citizen, as not as Joe Expert Engineer, environmental engineer, or something like that. If one is aware that a registered engineer willfully violates a state rule of professional conduct, one should do nothing, report the violation to the state's engineering registration board, report the violation to the employer, report the violation to the parties it affects. Of course, you're going to go to the license board. Go to the license board. Which of the following is an ethical violation specifically included in the NCEES model rules? An engineer and professor moonlighting as a private contractor. An engineer investing money in the stock of the company in which he or she works. A civil engineer with little electrical experience signing the plans of an electrical generator. None of the above. question was, which of the following is an ethical violation specifically included in the NCEES model rule? C. Engineer has to know his limitations, has to know his expertise in. Being a geotechnical engineer, I would never, ever try to stamp an electrical drawing. It's going to come back to haunt you, without a doubt. A senior licensed professional engineer with 30 years experience in geotechnical engineering is placed in charge of a multidisciplinary design team consisting of a structural group, a geotechnical group, and an environmental group. In this role, the engineer is responsible for supervising and coordinating the efforts of the group when working on a large interconnected project. In order to facilitate coordination, the design is prepared by the groups under the direct supervision of the group leaders. So group leader for structures, group leader for geotech, group leader for the environmental area. And then they are submitted to the 30-year experienced person to review for approval. This arrangement is ethical as long as the engineer signs and seals each design segment only after being fully briefed by the appropriate group leader. The engineer signs and seals only those drawings, segments pertaining to geotechnical engineering. Each design segment is signed and sealed by the licensed group leader responsible for its preparation. The engineer signs and seals each drawing segment only after it has been reviewed by an independent consulting engineer who specializes in the fields in which it pertains.
I'd like to say C, but it's probably C makes more sense.
It's actually C. As a responsible person over the whole project, whoever is the responsible person who is intimately familiar with the design can stamp the drawing. So the structural guy who's intimately familiar with that design as it grew up through the design process, is the only one that can stamp those drawings. Is the only one that can stamp. You have to be very familiar with what you're stamping. Somebody giving me something and saying, hey, can you review this for a couple hours and stamp it? It's not a legal methodology for stamping something. Somebody has to be familiar with it as it grew up and as it became a finalized project, so you know all the decisions and steps that came along as it went up through there. If not, you may not have known of some critical issue that they made a choice on that you can't really necessarily see in the review process because it's not detailed in there. So you got to be truly familiar with whatever you're looking at. You can't just review it real quick. It's called buying a PE stamp. That'll get you in some big trouble. This is a good one. You're a city engineer in charge of receiving bids on behalf of the city council. The contractor's bid arrives with 2 tickets to a professional football game. The bid is the lowest received of all the bids. What should you do? Return the tickets and accept the bid. Return the tickets and reject the bid. Discard the tickets and accept the bid. Discard the tickets and reject the bid. Return the tickets and reject the bid. Actually, the answer is A. Return the tickets and accept the bid. It's either return the tickets or discard the tickets and accept the bid, or or reject the bid. They were the lowest bidder, so by bidding processes, they have to get the work. They should get the work. And you should return the tickets. Main reason you should return the tickets, because if you don't return the tickets, they think that you used them potentially. They think it may have gained them some favor. Gave the impression potentially of gaining favor. So if you would discard them, they wouldn't know whether you used them or not, whether it really helped them or not. If you return it to them, they know it's not going to work here. It's not the way you're supposed to do things. But they still get to work because they were the low bid. They were the low bid.
The smart thing would be just to not accept them to begin with.
Well, they came in an envelope.
Oh.
When you get sealed bids, or everybody seals their bids in an envelope, and all the bids come in and they all set on the table, somebody cuts them open and they set them out on the table so nobody can mess with them, and you open them up, well, when the bids, you open it up, they pop right on top of the bid. There's no way of not accepting them at that point. I mean, they came in the mail that way. So, those are the kind of things sometimes you got to deal with, and it can be a very challenging situation, turning those things away. Everyone wants to go to the football game, right? Complete the sentence. The professional engineer who took the licensing examination in mechanical engineering may not design in electrical engineering, may design in electrical engineering if she feels competent, may design in electrical engineering if she feels competent and the electrical portion of the design is insignificant and incidental to the overall job, may design in electrical engineering if another engineer checks the electrical engineering work. Complete the sentence. Professional engineer who took the licensing examination in mechanical may not design in electrical, may design in electrical if she feels competent, may design in electrical if she feels competent and the electrical portion of the design is insignificant and incidental to the overall job, or may design an electrical engineer if another engineer checks the electrical work.
A or C.
A or C. A or C.
I'm going to say A.
The fail-safe answer would be A. Would be A. But C is the correct answer. If it's very small, if you are competent in it and develop a competency in it, it's a very small portion, and it's incidental to everything else, you can do that. You can do that. If I was going to design a retaining wall and design some of the rebar and some of the concrete for it, I'm not a classic civil engineer, I'm a geotechnical engineer, but that is still small. And if I feel confident in it, small portion of the work incidental to the retaining wall itself. And you can do that. Safe bet, just don't go there, right? Safe bets just don't go there.
Do you feel like most of the construction management and economics, engineering economics topics, any of those overlap like PERT?
Oh yeah. They very possibly could. Very possibly could. Very possibly. Yep. More ethics. We've got a lot of ethics problems we keep working through here. So everybody gets tired of hearing me read them. This is a good one. This is a good one that will come into your career without a doubt. Jim is a PE working for an HVAC designer who must often specify compressors and other equipment for his clients. He reports to Joan, the VP of Engineering. Jim specifies compressors from several different manufacturers and suppliers based on the technical specifications and on his experience with those products over the past years. Joan's longtime friend Charlie, who has been working in technical sales of construction materials, takes a new job with one of the compressor suppliers that Jim deals with from time to time. Charlie calls on Joan and invites her and any of the engineers in the office to lunch to discuss a new line of high-efficiency compressors. Joan invites Jim along. He's in the office. Jim should decline to attend the lunch, citing concerns about conflict of interest. Attend the lunch, but insist on paying for his own meal. Agree to attend the lunch and learn about the new line of compressors. Report Joan to the state board and never specify compressors from that supplier again.
That was a long question.
None of these are good. None of these are good short. So he's been designing HVAC systems. He's been using this guy's firm already. Jones Joan's friend takes that position, says, hey, I'll take you guys all to lunch and learn about new compressors, high efficiency compressors. Question is, should he decline the lunch, citing it's a conflict of interest? Because Charlie's friends with Joan. Should he agree to lunch but insist on paying for his own? Attend the lunch and learn about the new line of compressors? Or report Joan to the board and never buy compressors from the supplier again? Correct answer would be, attend the lunch and learn about the new line of compressors. You already had the contact already set up. There was already business contact set up. As long as the lunch is a reasonably priced lunch and things of that nature, there's nothing wrong with that. People do lunch and learns all the time. Contractor comes in, brings in lunch for everybody, and they talk about their new latest and greatest product. Happens all the time. Now, if the concept was, we're going to take a 10-day hunting trip, then that's a little bit of an ethical difference. A $10,000 trip, that seems like that has the potential then to be being a, I'll buy this for you if you'll buy my product off me. A tit for tat kind of thing. And then that becomes something you don't want to get into. Kind of review some of these mortifications later in your career.
What are the odds of them asking you a question saying which of the following NCES, EES, what was it, rules or statutes,
model rules, model laws
apply to this? Like which one would, you know what I mean? Would it be breaching, or which one would this? Will they ask you something that specific?
I don't think they're going to ask you something that specific. I don't think they're going to ask you something that direct, where you got to memorize the whole system. And the other thing you got to remember, everything you're supposed to be asking for is coming out of the reference manual. So, and I don't know of any NCS issues in the reference manual. I didn't look. Maybe there is. Ford Motor Company paid millions of dollars to individuals injured and killed in crashes of a Ford Pinto. You guys are too young to probably remember that. I remember that. Which had a fuel tank and filler system that sometimes ruptured in rear-end collisions, spilling gasoline causing fires. While many considered the filler system design deficient because of its this tendency, one important factor played a role in the lawsuit. An internal memo was discovered that included the cost-benefit calculations by Ford's management used to make the decision not to improve the tank filler system. This memo was significant because it is unethical to use a cost-benefit method for safety-related decisions. It's illegal to estimate the value of human life in cost-benefit calculations. The state law requires estimates of human life to be at least $500,000 or none of the above. D. It is not unethical or illegal to use cost-benefit methods, nor are certain values of human life prescribed by law. The answer is none of the above. The assumed values calculations in the memo may appear to be callous to the injuries and the result of the resulting lawsuit, but they're not unethical or illegal. They may have been unprudent. An important lesson is that the public, the jury apparently objected to the design decisions that increased the risk of the post-crash fires with such a small net benefit. Even though the risk of death had been considered by the designers, the mode of death, burning to death in an otherwise survivable crash, was a factor in the strong reaction of the jury. So it's not illegal to do cost-benefit analysis on on somebody getting hurt. It does sound very callous, but it's a fact. It's a fact. Jeff is a registered PE mechanical engineer assigned to a project to manage, as a project manager on a new transmission line project. He's tasked to build a project team that includes several engineers, EITs, that will be responsible for design and construction of a 7.6 mile high tension transmission line across, consisting of steel towers, aluminum conductors, in an existing right of way. He realizes the foundation design and soil mechanics will be an important technical area for this project. Again, he's a mechanical engineer. And he has never studied these subjects. He wonders if he is qualified to supervise the project. He should. Meet with his supervisor and decline the assignment. Decline the assignment, contact the state board to report that he is being asked to take responsibilities for tasks that he knows nothing about. Accept the assignment and check out an introductory soil mechanics book from the library and study up. Accept the assignment and be sure his team includes licensed engineers with experience in soil mechanics. D, set up your crew so they can do the job. If you're management, make sure everybody's got an expertise on your team to cover whatever expertise needs to be covered. Most definitely. Williams P., who is designing industrial incineration equipment, is working on a system that incinerates toxic waste. His employer has developed advanced technologies using high temperatures and chemical-specific catalyst systems that maintain a minimum risk to the environment. Minimum risk to the environment. Workers in the public. Public hearing is scheduled to address questions of safety and environmental risk posed by the project, and William is briefed by the corporate VP about how to handle questions from the public. He is told to buy a new suit, project an air of technical competency, point out that his firm is an industrial leader with many successful projects around the world, and describe the project system as one with zero risk to the public. Before we said it had minimized risk to the environment. Big VP guy saying, let's call it zero risk. Let's call it zero risk. You should follow the instructions to the letter. Insist that an old suit is adequate, because he refuses to appear more successful than he really is, but follow the other instructions. Follow all instructions except use the term minimal risk rather than zero risk. Resign from his position and look for a different employer who won't tell him to face the public in such a manner. C, you got to be truthful. Engineers are bound to be truthful and factual. Can't twist it, can't almost tell the truth. It's got to be the facts. It's got to be the facts. Some of these are a whole page long. Victor is a consulting engineer who is also in charge of a crew providing land surveying and subdivision design services to developers. He has been contacted to provide a survey on a 14-acre tract where a new local developer is contemplating a subdivision. He realizes his crews have surveyed the same tract last month for another developer who has abandoned the project. He reprints the survey drawings, changes the title block for the new client. With respect to billing for the drawings, how should he bill for those drawings? Bill the new client the same as he billed the original client to be fair to both? Bill the new client half the amount he billed to the original client? Bill the new client only for any work he did to change the drawings and reprint them? Provided the new client with the drawings without any charge. Billing for whatever changes you had to do to it. It's illegal to bill two separate people for the same work. Even though that person got abandoned the job, you've already done it, you've already been compensated for it, you can't go and charge somebody else for the same work you did. It is important to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest because the engineer's judgment might be adversely affected. The engineer's client might suffer financial damages. The appearance of a conflict of interest is a misdemeanor. The appearance of a conflict of interest damages the reputation of the profession. D, you always have to look that there's just no way there can be any propriety. You can't let somebody think, maybe he's getting money on the side, or maybe he's doing this, maybe he's doing that. You got to eliminate any chance that anybody can come up with some concept and say, maybe that's not above board, maybe it's not above the table. You got to eliminate it so there's absolutely everybody knows that there's not an issue. Let's see here. Ethics is best defined as, boy, this is dangerous. Ethics is best defined as a philosophical concept dealing with moral conduct, a set of standards establishing right and wrong action, rules that describe your duties to society and to your fellow professionals, guidelines that help you make decisions. See, what if I told you the answer is A only, B only, A and C only, or A, B, C, and D?
A and C.
A philosophical concept dealing with moral conduct and rules that describe your duty to society and to your fellow professional. Those are part of the answer. Actually, it's all four of those. It's all four of those. Ethics describes the moral conduct, the right and wrong actions, the duty to society, your employer, your fellow professionals, and yourself. And these rules help make practical decisions. They're guidelines as well. Looking through, find another good one here. Here's a good one. Complete the sentence. If you check the calculations for a licensed, registered professional engineer friend who has gone into a consulting engineering business for him or herself, you should be paid for your work. Your friend's client should be told of your involvement. You do not need to be licensed or registered yourself. Your friend assumes all the liability for your work.
That's it.
Whether you are paid or not is between you and your friend. Both you and your friend need to be licensed. And both of you can be held liable for the work. The client has the right to know the work, who worked on the design, and your friend has an ethical obligation to notify the client. It's actually answer B. Answer B. Your friend should tell the client, who all was involved in the work. Because sometimes there could be conflict of interest, personal conflict of interest.
I mean, if there's no, so you stand the risk of your friend writing and saying, well, I know this guy helped me, even though you, let's say you're not in direct contact with the company, and you're not appearing, you're not using the title of your company.
One of the keys is when anything you do, you need to be upfront and open to everybody involved about what's going on and who's doing what. No matter what's going on, you have to tell everybody. If you're going to do something for client A and client B, and there's any perceived potential conflict of interest between client A and client B, you have to tell both of them, by the way, I'm working for this guy. By the way, I'm working for this guy. You have to be above board on everything. Let everybody know who's doing what. Because if there could be a potential conflict of interest that your buddy doesn't know about with you and that other firm. There could be a conflict of interest there. So you have to profess all that kind of good stuff. An engineering professor with a professional engineering license and 20 years experience in engineering education is asked to consult on a building design. Can the professor accept this request? Yes, but he should review and comment only on those portions of the project in which he is qualified by education experience. Yes, professor is a subject matter expert, and as such should be fully competent to review the design. Yes, as a licensed professional engineer, the professor has demonstrated his competency in engineering and may review the drawings. No, there's a tremendous difference between working in academia and having professional experience. The review should be conducted by a practicing engineer. 20 years experience, asked to look at building designs. Can he accept the work? Yes. He should review and comment only on those portions of the project which he is qualified by education and experience. Yes, a professor is a subject matter expert and should be fully competent to review the drawings. Yes, as a licensed professional engineer, the professor has demonstrated his competence in engineering and may review the design. No, there's a tremendous difference between academia and professional experience. A. Only work in what you're qualified in and experienced in. Let's see here. Some of these are repeats of what we've already been through. To whom What is the registered engineer's foremost responsibility? To the client, the employer, state and federal laws, public welfare. To whom or what is the registered professional engineer's foremost responsibility? Client, employer, state, federal laws, or public welfare? Public welfare. These are the same. Little section in here. Just find out questions here, guys. That's it, guys. That's all the questions that I've got my hands on. Right out about an hour. Biggest thing, looks like brush up on your definitions. Also, you got to remember that the ethics and professionalism on the exam is probably 4 to 6 questions. Usually eliminate 1 or 2. You'd have a good chance of getting the other 2. One of the other 2 to be correct for you. Thanks for coming out. The next review session will be the Thursday after break. Dr. Mike will do a review on math.
This is the last one. There's not one next week?
I'm not doing one that Thursday, next week, no. We didn't figure anybody wanted to the last week right before the break.